Hi, everybody. It's Elektra Yao, artist visa lawyer, located here in New York in the heart of the arts world. So I know I didn't go live on Friday, so today we'll go live twice, now and a little bit later, to talk about some evergreen tips. So in this first live, we're going to talk about three evergreen tips for an artist portfolio to be submitted to for your artist visa application. So artist portfolios is these are terms that we use even outside the O1 world. So when you're creating your artist portfolio, it's really important to not fall into the trap of creating a portfolio that you would use in the real world, right? So in the real world, when you're creating your artist portfolio, you're usually presenting the most important, beautiful parts of the work that you do, right? You really want to show off your artistic skills, your artistic techniques. You're really looking to highlight the best of the best. And that's fabulous and that's wonderful. However, for the O1 or the artist visa portfolio, we're not necessarily looking to see the most beautiful work, even though it is counterintuitive, right? You're an artist, you want to show your beautiful work. But in the O1 world, we're not looking to show just the beauty of your work. We're looking to show the nitty gritty, which helps us to demonstrate and illustrate what is the expertise that you possess? What is it that you have that makes you different compared to others in the field, right? So my first evergreen tip for an artist portfolio is number one, do not treat this as a professional artist portfolio that you would utilize if you're working in an agency, if you're presenting it to a client. Don't make that mistake, because the data that you're including in an artist portfolio for the real world is not going to correspond to the data that you need for the artist visa. Now, this doesn't mean that there's not going to be some overlap. Yes, of course, there's going to be some overlap, but the bulk of the data that you're including in your artist visa or in the portfolio for the real world is going to be different for your portfolio for the artist world. And that is because we have two different messages. The message that you're trying to give to an employer is hire me, I create beautiful work. The message that we're trying to give to USCIS is look at my hard earned expertise that has allowed me to produce such beautiful work. And this is because we are focusing more on the process, on the expertise, on the nitty gritty. Oliver said, hi, Oliver. Thank you so much for joining. And that is my first tip. Do not treat this as a professional portfolio that you would utilize in the real world, because the professional portfolio that you utilize in the real world is going to have elements that is only going to help the real world, right? How to get you a job. We are not trying to get you a job. We are not trying to highlight what is beautiful about your work. We're trying to get you approved for the artist visa, which means that we need to highlight the whole process of a project, not just the final beautiful product that you present to the potential employer. So number one, do not treat this like a professional artist portfolio. Number two, because of the depth of the discussion of the portfolio, meaning because there's so much information within the portfolio, you really want to make sure that you understand your audience. You really want to make sure that you are talking to them and explaining it to them and making it easy for them, because they do not have the same perspective. Now, let me give you an example. If I talk to you like this, and you're only seeing the back of my head, and you're not seeing me gesticulate, you're not seeing me move, you're not seeing my mouth move, you're really not going to understand the context from which I'm coming from. That is why it is really important when you are creating your portfolio to, number two, have an index. You want a roadmap so that the officer does not get lost. The index has a lot of different purposes. The first purpose that I think is really important for the portfolio is it gives it a sort of story aspect to it. It creates some sort of like timeline. It gives a beginning and the end to the officer, right? And it helps them understand like the big picture aspect of your work while looking at a piece of paper. And if you think about that, that is actually very, very high concept. It is not easy to do. So I'm going to say it again. An index provides a big picture glance, a roadmap of the totality of the work that has been included within the petition or within the portfolio. So I think that this is really important because number one, it forces them to look at all of your work, at least at a first glance, right? It doesn't guarantee that they'll analyze the work, but at least they're going to look at it at first glance. And number two, for all intents and purposes, it just makes the portfolio much more organized, therefore much more user-friendly, much easier for the officer to look at the portfolio and to try to, understand the different work that you're trying to prove and incorporate within the petition. So number one, I like the index, and I think the index is important because it gives a big picture glance of your career. Number two, it is a very organized way of presenting your work. Now, I want you guys to realize that if you don't have an index, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to get approved. My job is to give information, best practices based on the successful cases that I see and based on the not so successful cases that I see that I had to clean up from other attorneys who've worked on them. So just because I say one thing, that doesn't mean that you have to follow it or you should follow it. You should be working with a licensed attorney that is experienced in this field. But I really just don't want comments saying that my friend did this or my friend did that. I'm sure that you guys understand there's absolutely no way for me to know the case of somebody who is not my client. I can only talk about my experience working within our firm and cases that I see every single day and the hundreds of cases that we file monthly. So again, let's just recap the first two evergreen tips. The first evergreen tip, do not treat this like a professional artist portfolio. Second evergreen tip, make sure that you include an index. The index provides, number one, a big picture concept idea for the officer, forces them to look on the page and read all of those different words that represent your portfolio. Number two, it's very organized. It presents a very polished look. It gives them a roadmap so that if they are lost, which they will be, if they are lost, they can always reference that index. And if they choose to ignore evidence at the RFE stage, you have your index to prove that, yes, you actually did include that information. So those are my top two evergreen tips. And my third evergreen tip for an artist portfolio to really kind of seal the deal, to really make sure that you have the strongest portfolio of the strongest, is to really understand this concept of subjective and objective evidence. Now, when we do portfolios in-house, so for example, we do have clients who are like, Elektra, I don't want to do the portfolio. I want you to make the portfolio for me. No problem. I can absolutely do that. When I am creating the portfolio, though, I can only focus on the objective evidence. What does objective mean? You're like, Elektra, what are you talking about? This is not English Lit class. Objective evidence, the way we identify it in our firm. And of course, guys, when I'm talking about how my firm approaches things, how I understand evidence, how I document evidence within our internal processes that result in successful cases. Is objective evidence is anything that is easily available online. It's objective. It's third-party information that I didn't make up, you didn't make up. It's not personal to you. It is literally on Google. So think of it, if you are a model, think of it as something like a tear sheet, right? You're a model and you're on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, for example. Your objective information would be that tear sheet, would be those screenshots of the Harper's Bazaar website. Is this clear? I want to make sure that this is clear. Objective information is what is easily found online. It is what anybody can Google, right? That would be, for example, you're a model, you're the cover of the magazine put you on it's online editorial. It would be that objective information. Now, going with this same example, the subjective information would be something that I do not have access to, something that the officer does not have access to, something that only you would have access to. Now, what are things that you only have access to? Text messages, WhatsApp messages, emails, contracts, call sheets, behind the scenes pictures, pictures of you getting hair and makeup, mood boards. All of this is unique to you, unique to you, unique to your project, and unique to your approach. There are some clients that I represent who just don't take work notes. They are just the type of people who have like everything in their mind, and that's perfectly fine. But work notes is a type of subjective data. Now, the third piece of evergreen information is in your portfolio, you want to make sure that you have that perfect duality, that you have that subjective data, that really personalized information that proves the process, and that objective data, which is the presentation of the final product presented to the client or presented to the employer or the project. So let's try to illustrate this. You are a filmmaker, right? Or you are a tattoo artist. Let's say you're a tattoo artist. I love working with tattoo artists. So as a tattoo artist, the objective information that you would have, let's say you own your own shop, right? The objective information that you have would be your calendar, right? So the number of bookings that you have within your calendar. It would be, for example, your sketches. It would be, for example, any sort of proof that discusses any specialization techniques that you have. Your subjective evidence would be your work notes. All of this is subjective. Maybe you use specific type of colors, so it would be your the invoices or the sales receipts of the specific colors that you buy or have bought. The objective evidence would be, of course, the finalized tattoo, right? The finalized picture. Now, this finalized picture can take on multiple forms. It could literally be you took the picture on your client's body, or it could be the social media. Let's say your client posted a picture of the tattoo that you did. Now, that finalized product would also be that social media post that encapsulates the final product would be part of the portfolio. That would be objective information as well. So we can do this exercise with another profession. Let's do it with an actress. Let's say you're an actress. Your subjective information would be your script, your sheet music, your behind the scenes pictures, your blocking notes, your notes on character development. Your objective information would be the digital playbill, would be the social media promotion, would be let's say the film, the theater or the piece was in a theater festival, would be the promotional pictures and the promotional information about that as well. You want to have a healthy mix of both because we need to be able to prove that this is a distinguished project or a distinguished production and that you served a lead role or a critical role. And the way we prove your role is most of the time through subjective information, which is something that only you have. Now, as I said, we can help with the portfolio, like we can create the portfolio, but we would still only have access to the objective information. So just to recap my 3 evergreen tips for an artist portfolio. Number 1, do not treat this like a professional artist portfolio. You are not going out on a job. You're not showing your most beautiful work. I'm sure it's newsflash, everybody, but everybody has beautiful work. Everybody in the O1 world has beautiful work, has interesting work. Do not think that beautiful work is enough to get you approved. Number 2, you want to have an index. The index, number 1, helps the officer see the big picture of your career. And number 2, helps them organize their thoughts as they're going through your portfolio. And number 3, you really want to make sure that you have a healthy mix of subjective and objective data. Subjective data is personal to you. Emails, text messages, WhatsApp messages, pictures, scripts, call sheets, etc. Objective data is anything that can be found on Google, anything that can be found online. So those are my 3 tips. And I know that I was supposed to give them to you on Friday, but I was unable to go live on Friday, and I will make up for that by going live again later today. I'm going to be in the office late today. So probably around 7 o'clock, I'm going to go live again. And this time I'm going to give you my 3 evergreen tips for a strong O1 petition. So today we talked about the artist portfolio, which is just one aspect of the petition. And then we will go over at 7 o'clock my 3 evergreen tips for a strong O1 or artist visa. I also want to share something really cool and really interesting with you guys is I am right now developing, I am developing our artist visa O1 consultation booklet. meaning that once you book a consultation with us, you will be receiving an O1 artist visa. There's a bunch of my notes on it. So this is not the finalized version, but it will be done by tomorrow. This consultation booklet is going to give you information about the O1 visa, information about the technical requirements. And this is all in my words, guys. This is not like copy and paste from the USAS website. This is my words. So the way I'm talking to you now, which I hope is pretty clear, is going to be written down in my O1 booklet. It's going to include the fee schedule, so how much we charge. It's going to include rush cases. What is the process and what are the fees for rush cases? And then the last page is going to be about how our law firm works. So our law firm is really unique compared to other firms. We're super structured and regimented. We are on top of everything for you. But this, I think, is really important to just help you guys understand a little bit more about our culture and about how we operate and how we manage our O1 cases, which, by the way, guys, is my primary case type. I love working with artists. They are the cases that I love working on the most, and about 99.9% of our clients are artists. So super excited for the O1 consultation booklet, which I'll be giving out for everyone who books a consultation. So I hope that my 3 evergreen tips were helpful for you guys. To make up for not going live on Friday, I'm going to go live again today at 7. I'm going to give you my 3 evergreen tips for an artist visa petition. So this is going over the whole totality of the petition and what I think are the most important tips to try to ensure a successful, i.e. approvable petition. So thank you so much for watching, everybody, on TikTok, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And I will see you later today or later this evening at 7 o'clock. Bye, everybody.